Let's go. This session is going to be a little bit different. So it's split into kind of 3 parts. I'm going to do a little bit of a talk first about selling on Instagram. Then we're going to do a bit of an Instagram audit. And Olga has kindly let me do it. And she's not heard what I'm going to say. So she's being very brave. So that you guys can pick up tips about what you can maybe change on your Instagram. And then we'll do a bit of a Q&A at the end if anyone has any questions. So first of all, my name is Therese. I run a business called Small Business Collaborative. I spent the last decade and a bit in the home and gift industry in sales. And then in 2018, I set up my business where I help small businesses start and grow their wholesale and selling to retail. And I mainly built my business on Instagram. I wouldn't have the business I have without Instagram, really. I know there's all this talk about not relying on one platform, and I'm all for that. But I could not have started doing what I did without building a community on Instagram. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. We are going to be talking quickly about mindset, discovery, storytelling, nurture, and selling. And the first step when we talk about selling on Instagram, I think, is mindset. I don't know about you, but talking to camera, taking selfies and videoing yourself, that did not come natural to me. My first story I did where I talked to camera, I had 55 takes. And all I said was, I'm really nervous, but I'm going to show up on here every day until I can do it without 55 takes. And it still took 55 takes. So, I think it's really important to just start somewhere. But what business owners often tell me is that their fear is holding them back. They're scared of doing it. They're scared of the judgment from other people, particularly family and friends often, which are the people that are supposed to love us and accept us for who we are. And, they're scared of saying the wrong thing or maybe looking silly. But, as business owners or, any in life, I suppose, we have to do things that are uncomfortable. And often the growth comes from stepping outside of our own comfort zone. And I think with Instagram, it's really important to remember this. And, to grow, we have to. There's not really any other way of doing it. So working on our mindset when it comes to it is really good. The good news is that, people's attention spans are relatively short. So if you do, forget your words or do anything that you feel is silly, no one's going to remember it. No one's going to care. They're not going to care if you washed your hair or if your nails are perfect or whatever it might be. It's just you that cares about those things. People are just not that interested to remember those little things. So don't feel that you have to show up as someone completely different online. Many people obviously use Instagram as a personalized shopping list. A lot of people use it to discover other people and other brands. So when you sell to those people or to your customers, it's basically the same as selling in person. So if you have a brick and mortar store, it's exactly the same selling online. It's just that you won't get their facial expressions and get their vibe back. You kind of have to rely on them, feeling it through that camera lens. But really, you don't have to do much different things or completely change your selling style. Whatever works for you in real life can work for you online as well. Assume that people are interested. People would not be there if they were not interested. If they did not want to find out about your brand or your shop, they would just go and look at a different brand or shop, or they would just not be on Instagram, not use the app. So they're there because they're interested. That's the whole thing. So assume people are interested, and people are naturally very nosy. We like knowing a little bit more, especially now when we are trying to shop small and you want to have this story about a brand, and you want to show your family and friends that you bought that gift from, that it came from this small brand that's hand pour their candles or whatever it is. So people are interested and they are nosy. And you don't have to be like anyone else. You can be yourself. If you are funny naturally, you can be funny. It won't make you look unprofessional just because you're yourself. Customers are really clever. They're going to connect with you the most if you show up as your authentic self, rather than trying to put on this mask and be someone else. You pick your content pillars, so you don't have to share absolutely everything. If you do not want to show up and dance on a video, you can not show up and dance. If you like dancing, you can absolutely do it. You pick what you want to share, and you pick what kind of themes you want to have around your content. So when I say content pillars, it's sort of bulking different types of content together so you know what sort of things you share. So one content pillar might be that you share about the ethics about your brand or behind the scene of your manufacturing. Obviously, one of them will probably be your actual product, but some of it might be, if you like sharing about your family or your pet or whatever it is, that could also be it. But what's really, really important, no matter what you pick, make sure that when someone lands on your profile, they know what you're selling. They need to know what you make. So one of those content pillars needs to be very focused on your products. But all the other bits help to tell your story and help with all the other bits we're going to cover in the talk today. I sell myself on Instagram, so I share quite a lot, but there's still boundaries I have set myself. Like, I don't share my husband's face. I don't share my friends and family that are not on Instagram. I only share, friends that are actually on Instagram and want to be tagged on there. There's, lots of things that I choose not to share, even though it might look like I'm an open book on Instagram. The reason why you might want to share, you don't have to be the face of your brand, but it's so much easier to connect with a person than it is to connect with a product. And it's much easier to connect with a product if you connect with the person that made that product or designed that product. And of course, we all like spending money with people we know and like. So, if you're buying something from a friend, you're much more likely to not question the price, overthink it, wait to actually push that buy button. Whereas if you are buying from a stranger, it takes that little bit more. So it's quite amazing that, we have this free platform that we can use to connect with our customers that can essentially kind of become friends. And therefore not be so hesitant when they're buying from you. I have some examples, so I'm not going to talk through them too much, but you're welcome to take a picture, or I can send them you these slides afterwards. But there's just some examples of accounts that do it their way. Some of them are doing dancing videos, some of them don't. You can kind of look at it. Some of them do a lot of videos. Some of them do hardly any videos. All these should-haves, is not that, helpful when we start out and we want to grow our following on Instagram, because should-haves makes us nervous, and then it can lead to us getting overwhelmed and do nothing instead. So I thought I'd show you, in all the examples in this presentation, accounts that has found a way of doing it their way, and not just following all the should-haves. So the first thing after your mindset is how people find you. So the discovery, you need to decide what your purpose is with the platform. I think that's really, really important. Is your purpose on there to drive traffic to your website? Is it because you want to have more newsletter sign-ups? Is it because you want to network with other people in business? What is your purpose, basically, with being on the platform? And that needs to be clear, because the customer don't know it, even if it kind of is clear in your head. But if you can be really clear on what you want them to do and what you are there to do, and not go off in too many directions from that, it will be much easier for the customer to understand what they're there meant to do when they land on your page. You don't have to, you can have a drive traffic to the website and sign up to the newsletter. You can definitely do 2 or 3 of these things, but don't try to be everything, because you will just overwhelm yourself. And again, that often leads to it being an unclear message and also overwhelming you, so you might not do it. Like my purpose of being on Instagram, for example, is for people to discover me, and then once they discover me, I want to keep them in my community. I want to share advice with them, so they think about me when they do want to start a wholesale, or when they are looking to grow their sales team and they need some advice. So I use it to nurture people, and I use it for people to discover me. Don't get caught up with the whole thing that I'm working while you're scrolling, because that's not really working. We can call it research all we want, but it's still not going to be working in most cases. I think we all saw a lot of posts on Instagram this summer about engagement being down. And that is really looking for compassion from your peers. It's not marketing to your customers. To market to your customers, you don't want them to feel guilty about not interacting with your posts when those are the people that are actually there showing up for you. You want to make them feel good. You want to make them feel connected to you and want to make them feel appreciated. So find a different outlet for all of that talk with other small business owners, and find a way for you to show up on Instagram with positivity and wanting to share what you are passionate about. As with most things, it's important to have a strategy or a bit of a plan, going back to what your purpose is, and then a bit of a content plan, like I'm going to post 2 times a week on the grid, and then I'm going to post on stories 5 days a week, or whatever it might be for you. But having a plan means that you will be able to stay consistent, hopefully. So maybe you can take a few minutes today and decide what your purpose with the platform is, and making a little bit of a plan for yourself. But don't think that you have to download all the Instagram resources about content plans and do everything on that list, because I tried that and it just got to a point where I wasn't posting. So, make it manageable for yourself. And, hold on. And one little point. A lot of people said the whole thing about Instagram being dead and that TikTok is the new thing. And yes, TikTok can be great, but, you have to manage your own time. And if you invested all this time in Instagram, don't just abandon ship because there's this new shiny thing on the other side. I think TikTok is great, but TikTok is more about the person and then your products, whereas Instagram is very much about the product, and then you add the story and to it, so you can nurture customers a lot more. Instagram, your customers can DM you even if you don't follow them, so it encouraged a two-way communication with your customers in a way that TikTok doesn't. So I'm not saying don't do TikTok, because TikTok can be great, but I'm just saying don't get distracted and thinking you have to start all over again with something else just because it's being talked about a lot. Then on Instagram, you need to make a good first impression. So I think that, yes, we don't have to have a super polished feed. And when I say feed, it's like on your profile page, that grid that shows up. It needs to still make a good first impression. It needs to mean that whenever someone lands on your profile, they need to be able to see instantly what you're selling. They need to be able to see that you're a business that is selling a product or a service, if it's a service. I see a lot of people getting caught in the whole thing. You have to show your life and your family, and then you land on the business page and it ends up being unclear what they're actually selling. But people want to know what you're selling, and that's how they're going to follow you. And then we have some examples again of people that I think do the discovery well, where you can instantly see on their page what they're selling when you land on their page. And I've done some notes on there, so if you do take a picture, you can figure out why I thought it was good. Then step 3 is storytelling. So what does storytelling mean? It means that you're not just showing the product, you're actually telling the story of the product. It's like the opposite of the one-word answer. You just giving people an opportunity to see a little bit more. It's what's so great about social media, that we can do this. Every good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, the beginning, if you sell candles, for example, might be why you tested lots of different waxes before you decided on the final wax, or you tested different fragrances to do your next collection, and why you picked that one. And then middle can be you hand pouring that candle, and then the end can be your final customer lighting that candle in their home, or you lighting the candle, for example. It doesn't have to be super complicated. You can keep it simple. It's like, I'm sure you've all seen like a cooking show, but they always do that thing where they talk about the dish they're going to cook, then they chop up some stuff, then they put the sizzling pan on, or put things into the boiling water, and then it always ends with them tasting it and like giving their reaction to it. It's kind of like that, but with your products. So you can, by using storytelling, you can really add to the value of your product. If they understand how it's made, how much thought and love has gone into your product, they're going to feel more connected with that, and they're going to be more likely to pay a premium for it. Just imagine like a basic notebook versus like a Aspinall notebook, or like supermarket own brand tea versus Puka tea. If you look at the descriptions on the back of those two boxes, they're quite different. Like a regular scented candle to an essential oil, hand poured by the seaside sort of a candle. People are willing to pay more if they know the stories and the provenance of stuff. And I have 4 examples of people that I feel does storytelling really well on Instagram, so that you can go and have a look at what I mean. And then step 4. So nurturing your customers. Instagram is a great place to nurture your customers. People stay in that phase where they're like still interested, but they haven't pushed the buy button for a long time. And afterwards, to be able to retarget them, you want to keep nurturing them so they stay in your community or in your kind of world, I suppose. So to buy from you, people need to know, like, and trust you. That goes for anyone, pretty much. And the know bit is the discovery. So they obviously have to know about you to be able to buy from you. And I think more people discover people on social media than like ever before. And products, a lot of times we go to social media, and when we come across a product in a magazine or something, before we go to their website. I certainly do that. And if I see something in a magazine that I think, oh, that would be really good for that friend, I will go and look up that brand's Instagram, then I will save that, because it's not that friend's birthday right now, or I don't have the money right now, but I might come back to it later. And then the like bit is where you can bring in your story or your personality, because it's much easier, as I said, to connect with you if you want to. And And but it's a good way to get them to like you. It's like building a friendship, really. And if they comment on your post, you comment back. If they send you a DM asking about a question, you can really shine with your customer service and make it really personal for them. Like I've bought at least 2 lamps, expensive lamps, through DMs where like I posted I moved house and I wanted a bedside lamp, and like a shop DM'd me and said, oh, I think these options would be really good. And it was like such a smooth process, but because I've been following her a long time, it wasn't weird. And it also meant I didn't go and look for other lamps that were similar but more, maybe a little bit less pricey. So it does work by building relationships. The content that does well to get people to like you is things like live selling. So if you're happy to go live, I think it works really well if you're the maker or if you do something where people have to really see it, almost touch it to buy it. A live can be the second best thing because you can show how it drapes or how it flows or how big it is versus your hands or how it fits on different body types. Other content that does well is behind the scenes. So, that could be using a story to show behind the scenes of the products. It could be really simple, like show a tour of your office or studio or even warehouse in some cases. You can make a story about almost anything connected to your brand. And all these things adds up to building trust with your customers. And, when people trust you, they buy from you. So you want to throw in some extra content there, like customer testimonials or user-generated content, and customer stories, maybe unboxing videos. If you don't have any customers yet, you can unbox the video products and showcase how they will get the product if they ordered from you. You can, if you're a very small business, you can show the product being boxed up, how you've put like a nice thank you card in there and how you're putting it in the post box. You can celebrate milestones with customers because even though we want to be unique, we also want to know that other people are buying it and receiving it. So you can celebrate your 100 order or your 1,000 order with your customers because that's something you would do with your community and your friends. So you can do that with your Instagram community too. And here are some examples that I think does it really well. Life Story in Edinburgh is actually where I bought those lamps from, if anyone needs a lamp. And the last bit is the selling. So selling is, I think that you think about servicing your community first on Instagram versus the selling, but never forgetting why you're there, and that is often to sell something, right? So you are helping them to discover the products, you're helping them give confidence in buying from you, but you always put a call to action. So you always have to tell them what you want them to do next after they discovered you. Do you want them to sign up for your newsletter for that 10% off? Or do you want them to go and buy that product? Or do you want them to save that gift guide you did about stocking filler for Christmas until they want to buy their stocking fillers for Christmas? So make sure you do give them a call to action. Just because we put service over selling and we're not like just going buy, it doesn't mean that we're not, selling. We have to still sell. Let your knowledge and passion shine through. Like I said in the beginning, you still need to show up as your own authentic self. Storytelling comes into that a lot, and help them get to know you and feel connected with you, and help them see that value like we talked about, and then have patience with the customer journey. It's not instant. How many times have you screenshot something on your phone or saved something that you came across on social media or even taken a photo of something in the shop that you've seen? just come back to it later, or maybe forgetting, so you really appreciate when the brand reminds you about it. It's not an instant purchase a lot of time, but that's why it's so important to build your community of customers that one day want to buy from you, and then keep reminding them about your existence, basically. And here are some examples of people I just think are so good at selling, and they all do it in a very different way. And then we are going to talk with Olga. Sorry, we were debating on whether we should come up at different stages or sit here together. It's nice to not be by myself, actually. Do you want to just do a little quick intro of what your business is?
Hi everyone, my name is Olga, and the Nuchkin is my brand of art prints for children and grown-ups. I only launched it last year in September, and the idea came to me a couple years ago when I was decorating my daughter's nursery at the time. And I was looking for the wall art, which would be slightly more premium looking. I wanted something that would look like hand-painted, would be timeless and unique, and I just couldn't find anything, and that's how the idea came to me. So each of my prints is hand-painted by the artist, the original each print, and then it's reproduced by the printing company here in England.
Oh, nice. How long have you been on Instagram then?
Only since September last year.
September. Yes. How have you found it?
Overwhelming, time-consuming, but also it's really great to connect with the customers, and
Yeah, but I think overwhelming is something, I don't know about you, but I think it's something that we hear a lot.
Yeah, and it's constantly, I've been trying to look for different things, and constantly there's different advices, like the moment, only do reels. When I started, I think there wasn't any reels, and it was about you have to show up every day, a few times a day. So, and it's constantly changing, the algorithm is changing, so it's such an overwhelm.
Yeah, I think that's why it's really important to identify what your purpose is, and what you're comfortable with, and what your strength is, and not try to do it all. A lot of the examples I put on there, because they don't do all the things that everyone says you're going to do, post at this time, or show up on your stories 20 times a day, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I should have moved to this one. There you are. I thought we'd go for the name first. So this is obviously Olga's bio. So the bold bit where it says the Noshkin wall art prints, that bit is searchable. It's the only thing that is searchable on your bio. So if your Instagram handle is your business name, there's really no need to repeat that in that searchable bit, because your Instagram handle is already searchable on Instagram. So if someone already knows about your business and searches for you on Instagram, if your Instagram handle is the same as your business, they will find you. So that bit could be, that's quite valuable real estate. You might want to come up in searches for what type of wall art prints.
Yes,
do you want to be nursery wall art prints, or, watercolor wall art prints, that sort of thing. So I think that's something maybe you can change, because your Instagram handle is already your name.
That's a good idea.
The more specific you can be, the better, I think. The more you can come up with, if you do fashion, what type of fashion, what type of style, or if you do gifts, what type. Gifts is super generic, right? So what kind of gifts? Maybe even who that is for, or if you do interiors. Right, certainly when I moved house, I looked for a lot of Scandinavian interior stuff, and I would actually search that, and only if the brand has actually put that in their description does it come up. So specific is good. Then continuing with your bio, of course, if you want to be the face of your brand, and I know you post quite a few pictures, you don't mind being shown. I think that's fine, what you have there. It's really cute. It stands out. There's a lot of contrast. But I suppose it's easier to connect with you than it is with the giraffe, the deer.
Antelope.
Antelope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's pretty, it would be easier to connect with you if you are the person behind your brand. And if you are the person behind your brand, maybe having your name inside the bio, not in the searchable bit,
Yeah.
but somewhere.
Yeah.
Because it's quite nice if they want to inquire about a print or something that they can say your name rather than saying just hi.
Yeah, the reason I didn't put my photo, because I'm not an artist. I have artists who work for me behind the brand. And
Yeah.
that's why I see it like a brand rather
Yeah.
than based on me. So that's why I thought putting like part of my print would be more recognizable, I guess.
Yeah. So you can keep that.
Yeah.
I think I like that picture, but maybe you can still add your name
Yeah.
because you're a small business.
Yeah.
Then at least they can connect with that part of
Yeah.
you. In your bio, like I would say something about who your prints are for or about the style, like we said.
Yeah.
The name we talked about. And I do think that sometimes in the bio, it's much easier if it's like bullet points, like it doesn't actually take up new character spaces. I know the bio is limited, but to do like maybe an emoji in like one sentence, so you break up the made in England and free shipping worldwide, it would just mean that it was much more obvious.
Okay.
And then maybe a call to action like shop our prints here or something like that at the end.
Okay.
Then we come to highlights. Now, this is one of those things where if you go to my Instagram, don't look at the highlights because I haven't had time to update them. But your highlights actually are really important because if someone does go through the trouble of going to your profile, like your bio page, they are very likely to look at the highlights before they decide to follow you. And it should also be a place where they can get a glimpse of your brand and what you're about right away. So it needs to be kept up to date. If you're a brick and mortar store, there needs to be one about opening times, for example, or key information like maybe even opening times and where to park. Like really common things. And keeping it up to date. So if it's a bank holiday and you change your bank opening time that weekend, make sure that it's always up to date. An FAQ like you have, I think is really good. Like having frequently asked questions, having like something about you or the brand or what you do, I think is really good. New is good as well, especially if you launch new products. But if it's like 20 weeks since you launched a new product, maybe you
Update.
retire that highlight folder until you have something new.
Yeah. This is actually new.
Yeah, yours is new.
It was launched last week.
Yeah, actually your stories are very neat. Your highlights. You don't have loads. Another thing to go for is like, I like to see maybe 8 or 10 like highlight folder, no more, because like if you end up having 20 of all the trips you've taken or all the shows you visited, like no one's going to go through all that. So just keep it relevant. And then I think like up to 10 stories within each highlight folder. When you get the little dots, you just get a bit exhausted and fatigued before you even started looking through them. So make sure you don't have too many there. But yeah, how do you find using them?
Well, I kind of spent one day just creating all of them, and I just left it there. So I haven't actually updated them. So they more like art prints, highlighters about just the collection I have. I haven't been updating them. Maybe I need to put more and maybe make like the new one would be like actual, do like more of like what's going on now.
Yeah, that's good. I think that if you have any user-generated content, it's nice to see your prints in other people's homes. Yeah. Or, even if they're not the most professional pictures, it gives social proof.
Yeah.
Especially
trust,
when you are a newer business.
Yeah.
That you have other people loving your products and buying it. Of course, you can put testimonials in there too. I like how you have a packaging one because with prints, I think it's really important actually
to know
how it's going to be packaged. So that's really good. And then I think that your photography style is really consistent. It's really easy to see what you sell when you land on your grid. It's super, super easy. And I do see that you show up and show your face every so often, but still
Sometimes,
keeping
yeah.
the focus on the business, which I
Well,
think
my
is
daughter's
perfect.
face.
Yeah, and your daughter's face, which is nice. I think that maybe it's difficult to market effectively to both, like, you know, when your collection is small, it might be easier to focus on nursery, because I know you say nursery and adult.
Yeah, that's been really difficult, and I realized it after I already launched the collection. I have some prints which are for grown-ups as well, and I always struggle how I'm going to market myself. Is it nursery, or but I also have grown-ups, so that has been a difficult one.
I think because you're new,
Yeah.
focusing on what people are likely to discover you buy.
Yeah.
So like whatever is your bestseller, like, you know, you market
Yeah.
to that customer.
Yeah, now I'm realizing that I'm more focusing on new prints. They're all more for kids.
Yeah.
So I decided that I need to either grow that or that. Otherwise, it's very difficult to market.
Yeah, it's so difficult in the start to have lots of things to
Yeah,
say.
but until you make a lot of mistakes, you will know it.
Yeah. I do think that when you do videos, it is nice to do titles. You can still keep pretty titles on there. But, you know, when you land on the grid, it is quite nice to know why you should click on that reel. Of course, if it comes up in the feed or on the Explore page, it doesn't matter so much. But on the grid, it actually matters. You know, why am I going to click on that video versus that picture? So that might be something that it would be nice. And I think call to actions is really important. So I know it feels funny to have a call to action on each post sometimes. It feels really repetitive and really boring. I don't know if you felt like that, but I think it's really important to have.
Yeah, okay.
And then in your captions, you can tell the story a bit more. Like you did a recent reel where you showed your sketch that you sent to your artist. I love that. So you like, how can you bring in more of that, I suppose?
I hear a lot that I need to make that page a bit more personal. So a lot of people say, show your face more. And so I spent hours editing that reel. And my recent reel is all about me and my daughter. And we have photos in front of all my prints. I also shared, like, when I was starting the draft I did of a first print, which looks horrible. And so I was really excited posting it. And, you know, no, funny enough, when I posted, few people unfollowed me and actually has a really low views. And I was like, how not to take it personal. So I convinced myself that that's because I choose and run music.
Oh, I think maybe it's just Instagram cleaning up bots or something.
Yes, I know. It's so difficult not to take it personal, especially when you put so much effort into it and invested so much time. But I think it's very important not to feel encouraged with Instagram, because sometimes just algorithm, sometimes you post at the wrong time, you just never know.
Yeah, you never know. And like, you know, I get like weeks where more people unfollow me than they follow me. But I learn to just see it as like Instagram is like tidying things up. And also people that not going to buy from me, they don't really need to be on my page either. So unfollows is just going to make my community stronger, really.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a way to twist it to make it feel a little bit better. But, you know, because I thought that was really interesting, that reel you did.
Yeah.
And that content you put into that reel, you can reuse.
Yeah.
So you can put that into several Instagram posts. You can reuse it on your stories. You can reuse it in highlights.
Yeah.
You know, reusing your content is great. People need to hear the same thing over and over and over again to remember it and pay attention. So
It's recycling. It's good.
yeah, don't feel like you have to always be very inventive.
Yeah.
So I like that. But your feed looks really, really consistent, which is nice, and it's clear what it is. And then we have questions. Oh, I should also mention the talk I did with my friend Elizabeth. We're doing another talk, the same talk tomorrow, but with an independent retailer as like the audit, and she's here tomorrow as well, so I should say that. But does anyone have any questions? I think we have a microphone coming. Sorry.
I was just wondering, how would you change the way you sort of market or present yourself on Instagram to appeal to an older audience?
I guess really having a think about what they care about. You know, what I mean, I often post to just connect with like people that were born in the 80s. I often post like I use music that I made in the 80s. I use TV shows that I watch because a lot of my clients are my age or slightly older than me. They probably have the same TV taste as me. So on the stories, I might share what I'm watching. That obviously is not going to work for everyone, but like really thinking about what they care about. So if they care about, if they like going to a farmer's market in the weekend, and can you go and visit one? If they like, if they need more guidance on sizes, if you're a clothing brand, on different body types, then can you include that more in your content? Really answering all those questions that you normally get, or if you are new in business, you're going to have to make up questions that you can answer, but the things that they care about, essentially. And you don't have to make a big announcement or something. You just start transferring it into whatever content and who you want to market to.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yay!
Hi there. I was just wondering about timings when you're putting your posts out. Is there better times to post?
So some people are you should post on this time, you should look at this statistic. I tried that, but I don't know, I do everything in my business, and I don't know if you do, but we're busy. It just overwhelmed me, and it led to me not posting. So now I prepare my posts like once or twice a month, and then I plan out roughly when I'm going to post them on the day, but I don't stick to a certain time because I found it really stressful to have to keep to it. And when you post, it's nice if you can be in the app while you're posting. So yes, you can use a scheduling tool and automate the posting, but it is nice when you can be there and reply to people and ask a question back if someone comments on your post or something. So I do think that it's nicer to post when it suits you. I have times that I know it doesn't suit me, like I know Friday evening hardly anyone is going to look at my grid. One way you can do it is if you're thinking it suits me to post right now, if you go to the bit where you go live, you don't have to go live, but you go to the live bit, it says how many of your followers are active right now. So I know that if only 90 of my followers are active on a Friday night, that's probably not when I'm going to post, and I'm going to keep it until Saturday midday, or when it suits, when next I think about it, really. But don't get too tied down with times. If you had a whole team, maybe you can go into that, but don't overwhelm yourself. Any other questions? No. Well, we'll stick around a little bit afterwards if anyone wants to come and ask something but don't want to talk in the mic. And yeah, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.